Yo, it's me, Captain Gold, and you're watching yet another Gold Standard Project Zomboid tier list video. And for today's episode, I'll be ranking the skills in vanilla Project Zomboid, all for Build 41. Now, as per usual, when it comes to these videos, I'll only be working with bullet points. Also, keep in mind that this list is ultimately my subjective opinion on this topic, as I don't believe I can be perfectly objective with such a topic. Anyways, with that said, let's go ahead and get this ball rolling by starting with what I consider to be the worthless tier. And here's a quick spoiler alert. I think there's only one skill in game that I would consider truly worthless, and that skill is going to be the skill of farming. Now, the reason I have this in the worthless tier is because the farming skill only provides you with additional information for your crops. Okay, there's no improved yields, there's no greater crop resilience, there's no improved growth speed. All you get is just more information that isn't necessary. Okay, if you were to start farming at level 0, you'll be just as effective as someone farming with level 10 in farming. Okay, that is the very definition of a worthless skill. And that's how it is in Build 41. Now, clearly, this is going to be changing, and hopefully as soon as Build 42. So when that does happen, we can revisit this topic. But for now, farming is clearly trash. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the bronze tier. And I'm going to start this level by adding first aid to the bottom of bronze. And the reason I'm doing this is because first aid is largely useless, because the skill only ever improves your speed of applying treatments, and it also makes those treatments more efficient in the sense that it makes them last longer. But that's about it. Now, it could save your life in rare circumstances where you have to patch up quickly, and that could be pretty useful in PvP settings as well if you have a dedicated medic. But generally speaking, first aid is usually useless, right? It has its niche circumstances where it actually provides you with some utility. The only time this skill actually improves healing time is with splints. That's it. It doesn't reduce the odds of zombification either from scratches, lacerations, and definitely doesn't do anything about bites. So if you're a beginner listening to this, you need to understand that the most important thing you should learn in this game before anything else is just avoiding injuries in general, especially injuries that you get from zombies. Because all it takes is one scratch, one laceration, and especially one bite, and your run could be over. And first aid isn't going to save you from that. So, as such, first aid does deserve to be at the bottom of the bronze tier. Now, the next two skills in bronze are going to be light-footed and sneaking. Let me move this over. These two are pretty much interchangeable to me, or at least in my opinion. They're not likely to save you. They're not likely to keep you from being heard or spotted. That's it. That doesn't mean they won't keep you from being detected. It just means it isn't likely to help, right? At least not at lower levels. To really get some use from these skills, you're gonna need to level them up. I think past level 5. I think is when you'll start to notice a difference. You can fact check me on that. Again, I've never really been in a situation where these skills have been super beneficial to me. That said, they definitely deserve to be in bronze tier because there are some uses to them. Sneaking does reduce the chance that you'll be spotted. Light-footed reduces the amount of noise you'll make, which can help you from not being detected. So there are uses to that. Leveling these skills can also be tricky if you don't know what you actually have to do to level them up. Generally speaking, just sneak around zombies and just walk around zombies. That'll level both of these skills up. That's how you do it. So if you do it next to a horde, that's one great way to quickly get XP for these skills. That said, then there's sprinting. And the reason I have sprinting above sneaking and light-footed is because it's damn near necessary for playing with sprinters. At some point when you play with sprinters, and I haven't done it often because it's a fucking tedious headache and they scare the shit out of me, but generally speaking, at some point in any sprinter run, you're going to be sprinting. So it's an incredibly valuable skill for that particular type of sandbox setting. But if you're not playing with sprinters, sprinting would actually be worthless. So I'm just going to balance things out and just put it in bronze tier. Anyways, topping off the bronze tier is going to be a weapon class that is going to piss off some of my viewers or annoy them. But I'm going to do it again. I'm going to talk shit about short blades. Now, I actually have a video debunking the claims that short blades are S tier, and I think you should check that out. That said, short blades are better used as tools than weapons. The only two short blades that are worth using, in my opinion, are the meat cleaver and sickle. The hunting knife itself is highly overrated. Again, just check out the video I posted earlier this week. It's better to use short blades like the hunting knife, especially the hunting knife. It's better to use them to just improve your spears, right? Like, that's what they're really great for. That and for other miscellaneous uses that have nothing to do with combat. All the time spent leveling up short blade as a skill is time better spent on superior weapon skills or other skills that will grant you better utility, both in the short and even in the long run. So that's why short blade is topping out bronze tier, in my point of view. Now, starting off silver tier is going to be cooking. Now, I love cooking as a skill. I think it's a underappreciated skill, but it's not a super important skill. That said, this skill lets you make the most out of your food, and it also allows you to save time addressing hunger, thirst, boredom, and unhappiness with a singular and largely passive activity that allows you to do something quick while you're cooking at the same time. I mean, it's just great for min-maxing in general. And at level 7, you can detect poison in your meals, which might help you in PvP or might prevent you from getting griefed by a friend. And you can also use rotten ingredients without dying or getting sick in your meals at level 7 cooking. So it's actually pretty damn good. And there are some niche uses for level 7. For some challenges, right? If you somehow were able to get to level 7 early during something like the Winter is Coming challenge, where you start off with a world where everything's pretty much rotten except for non-perishables, having level 7 in cooking is going to be very fucking useful during that challenge, because loot in that type of a challenge is incredibly scarce. So finding food is actually a little difficult, especially when you have to deal with population set to insane. So that said, despite cooking being a super useful skill, it's also really easy to level up. And that's why I'm keeping it low on silver tier. It's so easy to level up that you shouldn't be focusing your survivor build around the skill. Like, it is painfully easy to level up. Right? It falls, again, silver is a great place for it. It falls in a place where it's useful, but it's not necessary, and it's not so good that you want to base a build around it. But it's useful in the sense that you don't want to just ignore it either. So I think it belongs here at the bottom of silver. I think this is a fair placement. Now, after cooking, I have foraging. And I know some people might disagree with the placement of foraging being this low, but here's my reasoning for it. Yes, foraging can get you some very useful items, including food, right? But generally speaking, it's kind of an inefficient use of your time if you are foraging at low levels. You also won't need it if you're not living in the wild. Like, if you're not doing a wilderness run, you're never going to need foraging. That's just the truth. Maybe if you're playing with incredibly low loot settings, then we could move foraging up to like gold, right? But most people don't play with those settings. Most people don't do those type of challenges, especially beginners. So foraging, definitely silver tier. Because aside from niche cases, it's not that damn important. But it's got its uses. And again, if you're doing a wilderness run or a nomadic run, it's going to be central to your gameplay. So I think silver is a good place for it. And right after forging, I'll say metalworking. So with metalworking, you can build strong defenses. You could build amazing high-capacity metal crates. But most of all, the great part about metalworking is that it allows you to repair car parts. Okay, that is a insanely valuable skill. That being said, this skill is also very hard to grind and isn't technically necessary, but I think it deserves to be in silver tier, so that's where I'm fucking putting it. Now, tied with this skill is the electrical skill. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily tied. I would say electronics actually edges metalworking out. And the reason for that is that, well, for one, it is one of the prerequisites for hot wiring. So you need to get at least level 1 in this skill if you want to hotwire cars. If you're at level 2, you could potentially pick up industrial ovens. I think that's what, or industrial cookers. You'll find them in restaurants. But if you need an oven that's powered by electricity, you need at least level 2. And if you want a decent looking oven, and not the shitty one that you find in a restaurant, you're going to need level 3. You're also going to need level 3 if you want to add washing machines and dryers or the washer-dryer combo to your base. So yeah, it has a lot of useful utility, right? I'm being redundant right now. Also, washing machines are really cool if you really like keeping your clothes clean. I know it's not necessary in the game, but I like my characters to look nice, right? And I know there's a lot of players that like that. Washing machines are great because you can wash your clothes and do other shit while the clothes are washing, and it also uses less water when you do it. So, yeah, no, electronics is a pretty cool skill. I think at level 7 you can make lamps become battery powered. Someone's gonna have to fact check me on that, but I think it is level 7. That's a pretty useful skill because that means you can have safe houses set up, and you don't need to have a generator to have lights working inside those safe houses. But that's not that great of a benefit, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. Now, topping off the silver tier is going to be, let's see, I'm going to say fishing and trapping. And I'm going to put trapping ahead of fishing. They will be essential for long-term survival. And the higher you level them, the more food you fucking get. It's just that fucking simple. So that's why they are where they are. Now, the first skill in the gold tier is going to be the skill of tailoring. Now, you don't need armor to survive in Zomboid, but being able to armor your clothing with leather patches is a life-saving skill that allows you to take more risks. There's not much more that I need to say about that. I just believe that, again, that the ability to take more risks in a game like this, that's one hell of a benefit, right? Now, after tailoring, I've got carpentry. You need it for defenses, you need it for base building, especially if you're building a base from scratch. And you need it for water collectors, crates, and so forth. It's just a very super important skill. I mean, it's easy to level up at lower levels and will literally be necessary through every fucking playthrough where you're not a fucking nomad. You have to use it at some point. If you're not next to a well, especially, you're gonna need it. And players, I think people understand this to be the case. They understand the importance of carpentry because when you're playing the first week of the game, you might ignore the cooking show or you might miss Exposure Survival on the Life and Living channel. And you'll be like, oh, well, maybe I'll get a VHS on it. But just about everyone kicks themselves when they miss some fucking woodcraft. Right? That to me just proves how important that skill is. The next skill, I would say, is mechanics, which is needed to maintain good vehicles, and it's also needed as a prerequisite for hot wiring. Cars are super important, and you're going to find that finding a premium car is very fucking helpful. And you're going to want to be able to maintain that thing and keep it running long into the apocalypse. I don't know. I guess that's all I can say. I mean, about mechanics. Cars are important. After mechanics, I was gonna say after cars. After mechanics, I have the maintenance skill, which makes your weapons last longer. Super useful. Not easy to level up without a crowbar. I mean, what else can I say? It's a very valuable skill. And then after maintenance, I'm gonna have the long blade. Now, the reason the long blade is not in platinum, because let's be real here, long blades are the best weapons in the game in terms of melee weapons. The reason it's not in platinum is because these weapons are rare as fuck, and you don't need to be a high level to do some major damage with them. That's about it, right? You're not going to really get a chance to level up this skill, so there's no point in really focusing on it. If anything, if you're going to lose long blades, you're going to want to focus on maintenance. That said, then there's the short blunt, because they're super fucking common. And like any weapon skill, aside from short blades, being good with short blunt is going to be useful. There's also other benefits that I should mention about the short blunt. For one, they are one-handed weapons, right? So you could carry a bag with you in your other hand. So if you're a, grimy little fucking loot goblin, you're gonna love a short blunt. Now, speaking of short blunt, I almost forgot to mention the machete, which is considered a long blade, also has that same benefit as the short blunt because it's a one-handed weapon. But yeah, generally speaking, short blunts are the most common weapon. They're a weapon skill, so they're super fucking valuable in a game. A zombie game where you have to kill zombies, the combat skills are going to be valuable. That's just common sense. I think that's going to top off gold tier, the short blunt. Yeah, I think that'll top off gold tier. All right, I think we're making some good progress here. Let's go ahead and finish this list off with the best of the best skills, and I'm going to start platinum tier off with nimble. It just makes combat with either melee or firearms much easier. Period. I mean, if you level it up enough, you can walk backwards faster than shamblers walk forward. Super valuable. Underrated by most beginners. Most beginners won't actually know how valuable this is unless they've listened to a guide video. In fact, this is the only super useful skill and only good part about the burglar. It's literally the only reason I would ever consider picking the burglar. Unless I was doing a very niche challenge. I know y'all are going to get tired of me making fun of the burglar and short blades. I'm not sorry, though. I'm not fucking sorry about it. Now, after nimble, I have strength. Strength impacts how hard you hit, how much you can carry, how far you can shove zombies, how often you'll knock them down, and I believe it also affects things like your ability to climb fences. And it definitely affects your ability to open windows more reliably. But even more important than strength is fucking fitness. Okay, I think Zombieland got it right. I mean, rule number 1 is cardio. It's not strength. Okay, fitness is incredibly important. Your strength is meaningless if you run out of stamina in the middle of a fight. That's just the truth. That said, fitness obviously makes your stamina last longer, improves stamina recovery, it makes you more durable, and improves attack and movement speed. So yeah, there's not much else I could say about that. The next skill, I think, is going to be long blunt. Long blunt. Because again, weapon skills are super important and risky to level up. So anytime you can level them up in a way that's beneficial to you, you are going to see some serious dividends from it. Long blunts are generally not as good as axes, though, at higher levels. At lower levels, I would prefer long blunts. Long blunts are also cool in the sense that if you want to keep the clothes on zombies intact, you generally want to go with a long blunt. I think the spike back is an exception to that rule, but generally speaking, if you have a crowbar, you want to take something like firefighter gear off of a zombie. If you go with the axe, you're going to ruin the very gear you're trying to get. But yeah, I think at lower levels, I would say the long blunt, especially with the crowbar, is better than the axe, and then you level up maintenance by using the crowbar, and eventually you can transition to axes, especially if you stock up on wood glue and extra access, because at the end of the day, high level axes are going to be one-tapping everything. They just are, especially the fire axe. But after axes, I have spears. There you have longer range than axes and long blunts. You can craft them super easily. Like, you'll never be in a situation where you can't find spears because you could just make them from wooden planks or tree branches, as long as you have a knife on you. They can attack Zeds through fences. They have a lot of one-shot potential. You can charge Zeds with them. You can go fishing with them. You can literally fucking upgrade them. Yeah, no, spears are easily the best fucking weapons in the game. Now, topping off platinum is the aiming skill, because guns are the superior weapon class in this entire game. Some said that the pen is mightier than the sword, but then came the gun. Again, you just point and click from a safe range, and you can clear entire towns with little risk to your life. So long as you have enough ammunition. I mean, even things like panic aren't going to be an issue if you're far away from the zombies while you're shooting them, right? You have to deal with panic when you're using melee combat. It's not going to happen when you're shooting from a long distance. You could also use the noise that these weapons generate to move Zeds to more desirable areas if you're really crafty with using firearms. That said, it seems like my dumbass forgot reloading. Where the fuck will I put reloading? Well, let's think about it. Reloading will save your life, and it's tied directly to the best weapon class in the game. But it's sort of useless if you don't have any guns. And it's really easy to level up. Like, you just sit in your base reloading if you're bored and you just want to level that up and grind it. I'm gonna go put this at the top of gold tier. Yeah, I think this is the list. I think this works just fine. Anyways, if you enjoy this sort of content, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that damn notification icon so that you may be alerted to when I publish a new video on my channel. And last of all, leave me your thoughts on this tier list in the comments section. Believe it or not, I do try to read those comments on my free time. Anyways, I'm Captain Gold, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.